In January 2022, 17-year-old Zion Foster disappeared after a night out with her favorite cousin. She told her mother she'd be back soon, but Zion never returned. What started as a missing persons case quickly unraveled into a story of betrayal, lies, and devastating truths. This is the heartbreaking case of Zion Foster. On January 4th, 2022, Zion Foster had just finished her shift at the Detroit Wing Company. Like many teens, she asked her mom, Sierra Milton, for permission to go out. She said she'd be spending time with her favorite cousin, Jaylin Brazier, something she did regularly. Her mother agreed, and Zion left the house around 11 p.m. the next morning. Zion hadn't returned. Concerned, Sierra reached out to her daughter's boyfriend, who said the last message he'd received from Zion was at 12:59 a.m. It read simply, OMW, meaning on my way. But Zion never arrived home, and calls to her phone went unanswered. When Sierra contacted Jaylin to ask about Zion, his response shocked her. He claimed he hadn't seen or spoken to Zion in years, despite her saying she was with him. He even suggested that Zion must have been lying and was likely at someone else's house nearby. Suspicious, Sierra turned to the police, but their initial response was dismissive, labeling Zion as a possible runaway. Sierra knew something was wrong.
He told me he hadn't seen or been in contact with her for 3 years, which is impossible when you were in my driveway and gave me a hug.
Zion's phone shared its location with her boyfriend, and on the night she disappeared, it had pinged just across the street from Jaylin's house. Security cameras from a neighbor confirmed this. Footage showed Jaylin pulling into his driveway at 11:15 p.m. with Zion in the car. Both were seen entering his home, but Zion was never seen leaving. At 1:11 a.m., the same camera captured Jaylin backing his car into the driveway with the trunk facing the backyard. Minutes later, he drove away. This activity, coupled with his lies, pointed to Jaylin's involvement in Zion's disappearance. Law enforcement searched Jaylin's house and car.
The times when I left is when I took her to work and we came back, went to get gas. Just basically showing this girl was never in my house. So
we believe you, man.
And she's known to be a runaway. Like she's ran like 4 times, and every time she got some dude's house. Her mom knows this. Her mom's just playing it a certain way, and it's making me so fucking uncomfortable.
She's known to be a runaway?
Yes, I would assume you guys would know that. Not saying like you're not doing your job, just assume she would tell you the damn information.
Now we know. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Inside his vehicle, cadaver dogs alerted to the presence of human remains in the trunk. Confronted with mounting evidence, Jaylin eventually admitted to being with Zion that night. But his version of events would change multiple times in the days and months ahead. On January 19, 2022, Jaylin told detectives a chilling story. He claimed Zion had died unexpectedly while at his home. Panicking, he placed her body in a dumpster in Highland Park. However, his explanation of how she died varied wildly. At first, he blamed marijuana, then later said they had taken acid, and finally suggested she might have had a seizure.
I want to have you show us the dumpster, okay? Because I don't want to mistake it, and I want to obviously get out there and see if she's still there, then we need to recover her, and if not, then we need to do the steps to locate where she's at. Okay? You're okay with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cell phone data confirmed Jaylin had been at the Highland Park dumpsters that night. However, when police searched the area, there was no trace of Zion. Jaylin's decision to dispose of her body and his failure to call for help raised suspicions that her death was no accident.
And then that he threw her in a dumpster. Like she was trash.
Adding to the horror, Jaylin had factory reset his phone just days after Zion's disappearance. Despite his efforts to cover his tracks, investigators recovered incriminating search history, including queries like, do garbage trucks have compactors? And how do police get your phone history? For months, Zion's family hoped for answers. Police launched a massive landfill search near Highland Park, where garbage from the dumpsters had been transported. Dozens of volunteers and law enforcement officers combed through mounds of waste for weeks. But the effort ended in heartbreak. Zion's body was never found. As the investigation continued, more disturbing details about Jaylin's relationship with Zion came to light. Text messages revealed that Jaylin had been grooming his younger cousin for years. Over 4,000 messages between the two showed a pattern of manipulation. Jaylin often invited Zion over when his girlfriend wasn't home and even suggested she run away to live with him. Prosecutors later argued that Jaylin's obsession with Zion was the motive behind her death. In January 2023, after more than a year of investigation, Jaylin Brazier was charged with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence in connection to Zion Foster's death. The trial brought to light the chilling details of Jaylin's actions and painted a devastating picture of the events surrounding Zion's disappearance. Prosecutors argued that Jaylin had groomed Zion for years, manipulating her trust and luring her into a vulnerable situation. They presented thousands of text messages that revealed his inappropriate behavior toward his younger cousin, including unsettling messages that suggested he fantasized about her.
One, I did turn myself in. Yes, I lied, but I was not in the right state of mind. There was no way for me to prepare for a situation like that. I was scared, did not know what to do. I sat for at least 10 minutes sitting there. Like, what do I do? Who do I call? My kids are upstairs. We just got into this place after struggling for like 2 years to get it, and everything is falling down.
Stop it.
I won't have any conversation in this court.
And I wish I could take it back. I would have called the ambulance, called her mom, because her mom's so sweet. Her mom is so sweet. And I just know. I wish I could take it back. Nobody'd be in the situation. At the very least, they'd be able to be like, okay, this happened, confirm this. And everybody has some sort of peace right now, you know? But
Prosecutors stated that Jaylin's obsession with Zion culminated in a tragic and avoidable confrontation that cost her life. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to portray Zion's death as an accident. Jaylin claimed she might have suffered a seizure or adverse reaction to drugs that night. However, this theory was undermined by medical evidence. Zion's family provided extensive records showing that she had no history of seizures or conditions that could have caused sudden death. Furthermore, Jaylin's ever-changing accounts of what happened cast doubt on his credibility. Key evidence, including his factory reset phone and Google searches, like "Do garbage trucks have compactors?" and "How do police track your phone history?" further incriminated him. His attempt to hide Zion's body in a dumpster, rather than seeking medical help or notifying her family, solidified the prosecution's case. The trial lasted 2 weeks, during which the state called 32 witnesses to testify. Jaylin chose not to take the stand in his own defense, and the defense team did not call any witnesses to counter the prosecution's case. The jury was presented with a timeline of Jaylin's actions, his troubling behavior, and the circumstantial evidence pointing to his guilt. After deliberating, the jury found Jaylin guilty of both charges. He was sentenced to 30 to 90 years in prison for second-degree murder, plus an additional 5 to 10 years for tampering with evidence. The sentences were to be served consecutively. The sentencing brought some measure of justice to Zion's grieving family, but it could never fill the void left by her absence.
Now, there are only two people who can say exactly what happened inside of the house that night. One of them is Zion, and she is gone. The other is the defendant, and you will hear that nearly every time he spoke about what happened, his story changed. And although he got rid of Zion's body, you will see that he left behind a trail of digital evidence that is damning and will show you that the circumstances all lead to one and only one explanation for why Zion left his house in the trunk of his car that night, and that's because he murdered her.
The fact that Zion's body was never recovered continues to haunt her loved ones, leaving them without the closure they desperately need. For her mother, Sierra Milton, the verdict was bittersweet, a step toward accountability, but far from the resolution she had hoped for. Jaylin's sentence serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions. His manipulative behavior, coupled with his attempts to cover up the truth, resulted in a severe punishment. For Zion's family, the trial's outcome was a reminder that their fight for justice, though painful, was necessary to honor her memory and bring her story to light. Zion Foster's life was tragically cut short at just 17 years old. She was a bright, caring, and loving young woman with dreams and ambitions that her family knew she was destined to achieve. Her mother, Sierra Milton, described her as a thoughtful and hardworking teenager who brought joy to everyone around her. Zion had recently celebrated her 17th birthday, and like many her age, she was beginning to explore her independence while still staying close to her family. Her kind heart and bubbly personality made her loved by friends and family alike. She was the eldest of 6 siblings, and her younger brothers and sisters looked up to her as a role model. Her untimely death has left an unfillable void in the lives of those who knew her. For her mother, the pain is compounded by the fact that Zion's body has never been recovered, making the family's grief even more unbearable. They've been left without the opportunity to properly lay her to rest or say goodbye. Despite the conviction of her cousin Jaylin Brazier, the lack of closure weighs heavily on Zion's family. Sierra continues to speak out about her daughter's case, not only to honor Zion's memory, but also to advocate for greater awareness of the dangers young people may face, even from those they trust the most. Zion's story is a devastating reminder of how fragile life can be and how quickly it can be taken away. Her memory lives on through the love of her family and the ongoing efforts to ensure justice is fully served. Her life may have been cut short, but her impact on those who knew her will never fade.